Typically, in an economy which has experienced a serious shock like the pandemic, the rebound is fast and we get back to previous levels of growth. In fact, we exceed that for quite a while till we go back to the trend. That didn't happen this time. So the question is, where are the places that are still slow in the economy? What are the sectors that are not doing well? That's what we're going to try and look at in this video. The index of industrial production and the subsectoral indices tell an interesting story. Take, for example, the most labor-intensive sectors according to the 2016-17 economic survey, which are textiles, apparel, and leather. These sectors dipped after the 2016 demonetization, which hurt the small and medium firms that compose this sector. That's the dip that you see around here. But then these sectors recovered and then fell sharply during the pandemic in 2020, 2021. That's the dip that you see here. But again, it recovered. And once again, they've dipped since then. And the index, if you look at it, is now below here where it was in 2015-16. In other words, these sectors have really suffered over the last 10 years. 12 out of the 23 sectors that compose the index of industrial production had lower production in June 2023 than in June 2016, that is before demonetization. The reason dip in production cannot solely be attributed to supply constraints, since these sectors recovered. Instead, it reflects weakened demand from foreigners as also from the Aam Aadmi, who have need for clothes and chappals and shoes. Broadly, this is consistent with a pattern I referred to before: sluggish income growth amongst the middle and lower middle classes, primarily consumers of goods from these sectors. So which sectors are driving growth? Capital-intensive sectors, which benefit from the government's infrastructure focus, are doing really well. For instance, basic metals, which includes the steel and aluminum used in construction, in that sector, the index has nearly doubled, as we see in this chart. There is a more general pattern here. When you examine the ratio of capital used to labor used in production, which is calculated from the annual survey of Indian industry, we see a substantial rise over the last decade. This number is going up, as we see with the blue bars. In a country with an abundance of labor, Indian industry is specializing in capital-intensive production, something which we need to understand better. In part, however, this explains why large capital-intensive firms are doing so well, while small and medium firms in labor-intensive industries are not. Indeed, government policy adds to this bias. Government recently announced 76,000 crores in subsidies for the manufacture of chips in India, which is one of the most capital-intensive of industries. The subsidy is going to giant firms like Micron and the Tatas. Now, the real question is whether this is a sensible use of resources when so many people want jobs and are unemployed. Now, not all capital-intensive industries are doing well, however. In the next video, we will look at the motor vehicle sector to see why.